Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and it's Monday, and that means it's countdown day, of course, and the results, they've been tabulated, they've been calculated, and we have the top 10 non-aligned Transformers characters. That means they're not Autobot, they're not Decepticon, they're not Maximal, they're not Predacon, but I really expected the voting to go way different than it went here. I'm not gonna lie, on a personal level, I don't agree with the voting this time around. I am not a fan of how this list shook out. And I'm the one presenting it. Just goes to show that I'm here to present the votes and that the people have the say. It's not about me, because I can guarantee you that my personal list would look vastly different than what we got here. I expected there to be a landslide of, like, especially the human villains from Transformers Animated, as well as some other characters. But that's not how it went. I think you're going to find this one interesting, and some of you will agree with it, some of you won't. There's a lot of caveats to cover in the latest GotBot Counts Down. Hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, man, please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe while you're at line 'em up, baby. And hit that notification bell. It helps me out a ton. It lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that's in the description down below. Also in the description down below. And if you are in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we offer to you through Teespring. Or, of course, hit the join button right here on YouTube to become a member. We're going to dive right into the honorable mentions. And they include Zeke. They include G-Axis, who some would argue is a Decepticon. Others would say, and the voters that voted for him said this, that yeah, but you know, he's really from that era that's supposed to be descended, some millions of years, and the whole like budding process, and that they see the war and the whole notion of Autobots and Decepticons beneath him and whatnot. I get it. He doesn't really identify with either, even though in later fiction he's become somewhat of a Decepticon. Bit of a questionable one, but I understand it. We also had a Scraplet. Got some votes. Yeah, Scraplets aren't aligned. Now, here's the thing. I didn't take votes for Scraplets because that's a group. I took a vote for a Scraplet. That being said, it wouldn't have mattered. It still wouldn't have made the list. It just didn't get enough votes, but I think it should have. Nightbird. Nightbird did not make the list. Yeah, you can see where this is going, right? Nightbird. Dr. Fujiyama's, I think that's his name, Nightbird did not make the list. Okay, whatever. And Circuit Breaker from the Marvel Comics didn't make the list, but I thought Circuit Breaker was a good one, an oldie but a goodie that was being pulled out by the fans. None of them made the list, although honestly, I really feel like all 5, if not 4 out of 5, certainly should have made the list. If they didn't, then who did? Who, buddy? Get ready. Fasten your seatbelts, settle in, because we're going to kick things off with number 10 first. Coming in at number 10, we have a Quintesson judge. That's right, a Quintesson judge, not the prosecutor, not the bailiff or whatever, but the Quintesson judge. Yeah, you're right, the Quintessons, specifically a Quintesson judge. Look, not only do they not care if you're Autobot or Decepticon, they don't care what you are. They don't even care what planet you're from. Everything's going to go fed to the Sharkticons anyway. An argument could be made that the Quintessons are their own faction. But in keeping with the question itself, I did specifically stipulate not Autobot, Decepticon, Predacon, and Maximal. So while there's a big part of me that, you know, thought of non-aligned as just characters that are loners by themselves, I understand that some people would say, yeah, but you specifically said these 4 groups and the Quintessons are not part of those 4 groups. Because you don't take groups, I'm going to specifically say a Quintesson judge. You see the problem here? Like, there's a lot of whittling down here into getting to a judge. Any way you cut it, enough fans thought that a Quintesson judge is unaligned, non-aligned, malaligned, that he was able to take the number 10 slot. Now number 9 takes us to Transformers Prime and a human character, and it's this guy. Yeah, buddy, Silas. Silas. Now, some people said Silas and Mech, but again, I can't count Mech. Mech is a group. Silas is not. And I would venture to say that Silas, while he did identify with Mech, he really was out for himself. Now, being selfish isn't, again, something that makes you unaligned or non-aligned. But being specific to the question again, he's not Autobot, Decepticon, he's not Predacon or Maximal. Yes, Mech is a group. It could be argued they're their own faction, but he's not in one of the four that was specifically mentioned. See, this question was interpreted a lot different, man, than I thought it was going to be. But you know what? Silas was a great human antagonist. He was always a threat. He was always a danger, and nobody, even the Transformers themselves, liked to see him coming. He was a bad dude, and I respect the fact that he took the number 9 slot. Number 8 was this guy. Yeah, buddy, it was Nah. Not a Sharkticon, it was Nah. I appreciate that enough people now realize that I don't accept groups. I don't accept general groups unless I'm asking for groups. And again, one could argue that the Sharkticons are their own group. Nah. And again, one could even say that the Sharkticons are part of the Quintesson group. But Nah is not Autobot, he's not Predacon, he's not Decepticon, he's not Maximal. Therefore, he's not aligned with any of those main factions. This was a weird question, but Nah absolutely fits the bill. Enough fans thought so that he took the number, 8 slot. Now number 7, I totally believe, should be on the countdown. In fact, I think it should have been a lot higher than number 7. Who is it? It's this guy. Yeah, man, it is Nemesis Prime. Now, some people might say, yeah, but look at the Siege one or the War for Cybertron one, whatever it was. That one has a Decepticon symbol. I don't think it should. There's no time that Nemesis Prime is really identified, even though he's always kind of shown as being a Decepticon. I think everybody knows, like, he's his own guy. If anything, he is probably a harbinger of Unicron. His origins are pretty iffy in a lot of ways. But I would venture to say that Nemesis Prime goes to the beat of his own drum and his own drummer. He's not Autobot, he's not Decepticon, he's just plain evil. Enough said, and he took the number 7 slot. Number 6 baffled me. I don't get it. It's this guy. Yeah, it's Wreck-Gar? I don't know. I mean, some people said Junkions. I'm like, no. First of all, no. Junkions are general groups. So then people say, well, the leader of the Junkions, Wreck-Gar. Now, some people did say animated Wreck-Gar, and I did lump them all together. I lumped them all together because by themselves, separated, neither of them were going to make even the honorable mentions. Together, they made the list. I guess I get it. Like, animated Wreck-Gar, he flip-flop back and forth. I mean, you want to talk about someone easily led? Animated Wreck-Gar. Then a lot of people said, yeah, okay, so the Junkions and Wreck-Gar were not Autobots, and it was only later that they kind of aligned with the Autobots, sort of in a loose way. So I guess I get it. I always saw Wreck-Gar as an Autobot, but I guess technically he is his own man, or rather his own bot. And for that reason, Wreck-Gar took the number 6 slot. And now a hush falls over the crowd as we reach the most coveted of locations, the halfway mark. And at the halfway mark today, we have someone from the Unicron trilogy, and it's this guy. Yeah, man, it's Sideways. Now, I'm not a Unicron trilogy guy by any stretch of the imagination, but I gotta admit that if you want to talk about a threat and a bad dude, it's Sideways. Some would say, well, he's aligned because he's aligned with Unicron. I guess I get that, but again, he's not one of the 4 main factions that were mentioned, so that's why people voted for him. He definitely goes, against the Autobots, against the Decepticons. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. That's the thing. You want to talk about pure malice? Then you're talking about Sideways. He cares about one agenda, and it's not Decepticon, it's not Autobot, and for that reason he takes the number 5 slot. Number 4 is definitely his own dude, or the leader of another group. It's this guy. Now, Soundblaster has an awful lot of origins. Some would say, whoa, wait, Soundblaster is aligned as a Decepticon if we go back to Japanese G1 when Soundwave gets destroyed and rebuilt. I get it. Some people would say, well, if we're talking about Soundblaster from Unicron trilogy, spoiler, it's Logos Prime. Yeah, Logos Prime wouldn't really be aligned with anyone, and therefore Soundblaster wouldn't either. And then some people said, well, let's look at Cyberverse / the War for Cybertron trilogy. Both of them had a Soundblaster, but in both cases, while he wasn't part of the Autobots or Decepticons, he was the leader of the mercenaries, and they were considered their own faction. I would venture to say that any mercenary is probably only loyal to whatever they're being paid, and as such, I think it's quite fitting that Soundblaster take the number 4 slot. At number 3, and speaking of mercenaries, speaking of Autobots, speaking of Decepticons, we have this guy. Yeah, it is Doubledealer, and I mean, his name says it all. He is aligned with no one. He is loyal to no one. He's loyal to what he's being paid. Look, if the mercenaries are paying him enough, that's who he'll be loyal to. If the Autobots do, it'll be them. If the Decepticons do, it'll be them. He doesn't care. All he cares about is profit. You gotta respect that if you're gonna kind of carve that path on your own. I think he fits the bill for being, non-aligned because nobody trusts him, and he doesn't trust anybody. He fits the bill. He comes in at the number 3 slot. Now at number 2, I thought that this guy was going to be number 1, and it's this character. Yes, sir, the ever-dangerous Chaos Bringer himself, Unicron. I get that there have been times he has been identified in plastic as a part of the Decepticons. I don't know why. Nobody knows why. He is a universal threat. He is a multiversal threat. He is the biggest threat. Autobot, Decepticon, past, present, future, Maximal, Predacon, mercenary. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. It doesn't matter what planet you're from. Unicron cares about nothing and no one except his hunger, his thirst for power, his thirst for destruction and chaos. And you know what? When that is your only motivation, you're going to be loyal to nothing and no one. And for that reason, he takes the number 2 slot. And that brings us now to number 1. Number 1, far and away, got the most votes. And I get it because he has a very popular characterization in not 1, but 2 pieces of fiction. And it's this guy. Yes, sir. I put both of them there because both Animated Lockdown and Age of Extinction Lockdown, both of them got about an equal number of votes, so I mashed them together at number 1. And you know what? I get it. I mean, I understand that when Lockdown was released in the Age of Extinction line, he had a Decepticon symbol on him. I think the animated one had a Decepticon symbol on him as well. But at the end of the day, Lockdown is, a bounty hunter for hire. Whoever gives him a job, that's what he's going to do. It doesn't matter if it's Autobot, doesn't matter if it's Decepticon, doesn't even matter if it's, mechanical, robot, it could be a fleshling, it could be an earthling, as we know from Age of Extinction. It doesn't matter to him. He was, doing some work with humans. He was doing some work with Quintesson in the film. Animated, need I say more? Need I say more? Lockdown. He takes the number 1 slot. 10 down to 1, baby, and a lot of weird votes. There were a lot of people trying to vote for groups here that I thought was really, really iffy. There were, I figured, going to be several votes for several of the villains from Animated. That didn't happen, and I'm kind of sad about it, to be honest with you. Votes that did roll in that weren't mentioned, for example, Lizardo, yes, from The Gambler, Devcon, Marissa Fairborn, Drift, which I found weird because in a lot of fiction, Drift is Autobot, Deadlock is Decepticon. I think, though, the votes for him were really an IDW reference. Thundertron from Transformers Prime. Death's Head, I thought was a cool one. Punch Counter Punch. Again, much like Doubledealer, he could have been playing both sides. GotBots, just GotBots in general. I couldn't count it because it was a group, but I thought it was worth mentioning as an interesting thing. The VOC, again, a group, so a little iffy. Primus himself, RID Fracture, like, he's a Decepticon. I don't understand that one. Windblade, I don't get that either. Every piece of fiction she's had, she's been an Autobot. Some people, no, that's a lie. One person said, yeah, but she was a city speaker first. Wasn't she still an Autobot then, though? I don't know. What else here? Was it Ransack and Crumple Zone pre-Decepticon? I don't remember them pre-Decepticon. Maybe they were. Vector Prime, Alpha Q, Tarantulas, and Black Arachnia. I get that they're selfish. I get that they had their own motives, but they were Predacons. They were categorized as Predacons. That's what they identified as, Predacons. And then even when Black Arachnia broke away, she immediately became Maximal, you know? I get it, but I couldn't in good conscience count it because they are identified with one of those main groups. What else do we have here? Beast Machines, Thrust, and Tankor / Rhinox. Thrust is a Viacon. So is Tankor. They're Viacons. But when they exert their individuality, then I don't think they identify as anything, because Waspinator renounced being a Predacon a lot earlier, so Thrustinator, or, you know, Waspa Thrust, he's nothing, you know, like he's just a bot. And then when Rhinox exerts himself within Tankor's body, he really has his own motives. He's not loyal to anybody. He's just loyal to his vision. So, I get it. Dr. Arkeville had 1 vote. I figured for sure he was going to have a bunch more. Wreckage, Nova Prime, Titans Return, Overlord. Little iffy because Overlord's usually Decepticon. And just for one more to throw in here, Grimlock. Because a bunch of people tried to vote for the Dinobots. Right from their creation, the Dinobots wear Autobot symbols. They're Autobots. I don't get it. I don't know. This list did not work out the way I thought it would at all. Just goes to show that the votes, you can never, ever predict them. And they're always exciting, whether we agree with them or not. Let me know if your favorites made the list or were even mentioned. I know a lot of mine weren't. I appreciate you guys coming by and giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we offer to you through Teespring, or of course hit the join button right here on YouTube and become a channel member. Don't forget that somehow, some way, each and every single solitary day, you right there, you do make a difference. And I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights at the stop motion premieres or the old-fashioned way right here inside the videos.